All right, we're going to start Unit 4 today. First one, in this unit we're factoring. We're learning how to factor. We have before done things like this where we we'd multiply things like x plus 2 times x plus 3, and we use double distribution and end up with a polynomial. So we'd have x squared plus, multiply this times 3, 3x. Then we distribute the 2 across, so we have plus 2x plus 6, and we combine the like terms there and end up with x squared plus 5x plus 6. Well, we've done that. That was last unit. Now we're going to start with the trinomial and end up with the factors. Okay? So there we're going to look now, and we're going to go again back to our first thing when we used algebra tiles. If you remember, every large box was an x squared, and every rectangle was an x. So go ahead and fill up. Okay. And the small squares were ones. Okay. And we get these by multiplying something outside here. Okay, in order to come up with this area of this box. Well, what times what gives me x squared? So we have x times x. Okay. Now, again, whatever goes here, remember we have to have something outside each of these boxes. It has to be multiplied by this x to get the area. So we need the width. We have the length as x. So the width must be 1. 1 times x gives me x. And so all of these will also be 1. Now in the column, we have this dimension right here is our length, which is x. X times 1 will give me this x. So all outside here will be 1s because the area of each of these rectangles is x. Now looking at this dimension, what is the common dimension here? The width is 1. This height or length is 1. So the area of each of these squares is 1. To get the product, we add up everything, all the areas in this big square or rectangle. So we have x squared plus, how many x's do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8x plus how many ones? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 3 rows, so it's plus 15. The factors then, if you remember, we look outside here. And so it's x plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So one of the factors is x plus 5. And the other factor is x plus 3. And if we multiply, this adds up to be plus 5. And this adds up to be plus 3. We multiply this length by this width, and we have the area of this whole rectangle. So the factors are what we have to multiply together to get what's inside, or the area. Now let's do example 2. This time we don't have all the little individual rectangles and squares. We've just got some numbers. But we still can figure out what it's going to take to multiply this. What dimension is here? What dimension is here in order to give me an area of x squared? Well, again, that has to be x times x. Now we're going to put some number here. Remember, we have to figure out this dimension. What is this? We know this dimension is x. So x times whatever's in here has to yield 5x. Well, x times 5 is 5x. What would the dimension be here? We have this x, this length from here to here, and from here to here is x. What does this length have to be to give me an area of 3x? Well, 3 times x is 3x. And then it should be 5 times 3, this length times this width is 15, and that is correct. So we've correctly found our factors. If you remember, then let's figure out our product. We add up everything inside the square. So we have x squared plus, remember, on this diagonal we're going to find like terms. So we combine them. 5 plus 3 is 8x. And then plus 15. Our factors, looking to the outside of each, are x plus 5 and x plus 3. Now, if you notice, these two problems are the exact same problem. So there's no difference in those. One is depicted with algebra tiles, blocks. These are depicted with just areas inside. And mostly what you're going to work with is we start talking about quadratic equations. And a quadratic equation, if you remember, has this x squared term in it. Mostly what we're going to find is numbers rather than boxes. So let's look at number 3. First of all, the product is easy. We add these things up. So we have 2x squared plus 8 plus 1. Remember, we add these two diagonals together, so that's 9x and plus 4. And we have to figure out what we would multiply together to get this. So the only thing, we know we have to have an x and an x, but we also have to have a 2. And the only way to get 2 is 2 times 1. Well, if I put a 2 here, there's nothing I can multiply by it, by a nice integer, to get 1. But if I put the 2 here, I can easily find something that would multiply to give me 8. So that's the way we're going to set it up. 2x times 1x gives me the 2x squared. Now, what can I put in this box, plus or minus, that would multiply this dimension times the 2x to give me 8x? That would be 4. And down here, 1x times whatever's out here has to give me x, so that's going to be 1. And 4 times 1 is 4. So my factors then, look at the top, or across the top, we have x plus 4. Don't write the 1 because it's not necessary. And we have 2x plus 1. Now that 1 is necessary. The 1's not necessary here because 1 times x is x. Okay. Again, number 4, we're just working several examples. 4x squared plus, add these two middle terms, that's 12x plus 5. Now, you can get 4 a couple different ways. We can get 4 times 1 or 2 times 2. Well, 4 times 1 is not going to yield 4. There's 10 or 2, neither one are multiples of 4, but they're both multiples of 2. So we're going to break that down as 2x times 2x. Now, what are we going to put in the blank here? What times 2x gives me 10x? That would be 5. What are we going to put in this blank? 2x times something gives me 2x. 2x times 1 gives me 2x. And then check your last one. 5 times 1 is 5. So the factors are 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 1. Now, it will help you to go ahead and check every now and then to make sure that these, in fact, will multiply back to give you what you want. So if you did your double distribution, you'd have 4x squared plus outside would be 2x plus 10x. That gives you your 12x, and then plus 5. All right, we're going to move on to the next page of notes. We're going to go here and move down until we get to our next page. Okay. Give myself as much room as I can get. All right, so what we're going to look at for the next one, I'm going to get something done over here if I can. Okay, there we go. Get my pen back. Okay, I don't think I have it yet. There we go. Okay, there. All right, same process. Now, the thing is, if it's going to be, when these have negatives, I wrote a plus outside the other ones. And so be sure that, to get a negative, we're going to have a negative. So let's look at our product. Our product is x squared. These add together because they're both negative, so it's minus 15x plus 54. X times x is going to give me the x squared. Now, what multiplied by x gives me negative 6x? Well, negative 6 times x gives me negative 6x. What times x here gives me negative 9x? Negative 9 times x gives me negative 9x. And then negative 6 times negative 9 is positive 54. So my factors are x minus 6 times x minus 9. Okay. Again, we have a coefficient in front, usually makes it a little more difficult. Factors of 2 are 2 and 1, so we know we're going to have 2x and 1x, but where do we put them? Well, if I put 2x up here, there's no way I can end up with an odd number. But if I put 2x here, I can easily multiply by something and end up with 10. So use that thought process as you make the decision. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times what gives me 10x? Well, that would be 5, and it's a plus 5. 2x, or what times x gives me negative 7x? That's going to be negative 7. So x times negative 7 gives me negative 7x. And then 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. So the product of this is 2x squared. Notice since one of these is plus and one is minus, we're going to take the difference of the two. So that's going to be plus 3x and minus 35 for the product. We add up the areas. And the factors are x plus 5 and 2x minus 7. Now if you write 2x minus 7 times x plus 5, it doesn't matter what order you write the factors in because it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. Now, here are the next part of this is some steps in this factoring process. Suppose you're given these pieces. Well, where do you put them in the box? So this is what you do. The first and the squared term is going to go here, and the constant term on a diagonal to that. The terms that are the x's, single x or x to the first, are going to go in this diagonal, just like we've been putting them. If you notice, that's where we've put these terms in every one of these boxes that we've done. Product, and it doesn't matter where you put the 8x and the 6x. Does not matter. You can put it the other way around. So we have x squared. Since one's positive and one's negative, we have plus 2x and minus 48. Now, one thing to notice here, as you start doing these without boxes and getting more and more comfortable with factoring, one thing to notice is if this last sign is negative, Your factors are going to be, one is going to be positive and one is going to have a minus sign in it. So let's just see if that turns out that way. Let's get our factors. We're going to write x times x. 8 times x would give me 8x, and that's going to be a plus. Negative 6 times x would give me negative 6x, and 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. So the factors are x plus 8, 1 is positive, and x minus 6, 1 is negative. And again, you know that that's always going to be true if this last sign in the trinomial is negative. If it's positive, both of them are going to be the same. For example, up here, this is positive, so the signs are the same in your factors. You have to check the first sign to see what they're going to be. This is minus, so both of them are minus. All right, let's put this last one in, and that'll be it for today, for this lesson. We've got 3x squared, and our constant is 70. And we put our x terms in. Now, see, they're mixed up here. You had to know to put the x. You don't put them just where willy-nilly where you want. The x squared terms goes here, constant goes here, and on this other diagonal you put the x's. So we have negative 21x and negative 10x. Okay, only way to make a 3 is 3 times 1. But if we put it here, we can't. 10 is not a multiple of 3, but 21 is a multiple of 3. So we're going to put the 3x out on this side and the x here. Now, what can we multiply by 3 to get me negative 21x? Negative 3x times negative, or positive 3x times negative 7 will give me negative 21x. And x times negative 10 will give me negative 10x. And then negative 10 times negative 7 is positive 70. So our product is 3x squared minus 31x plus 70. We're going to combine the middle terms. Again, this is plus, means the signs are the same. We look here, that tells me both factors should be negative. And in fact, they are. We have one of them is x minus 7, and the other one is 3x minus 10. All right, well, thanks for listening, and we'll tune back in for topic 4 too.